What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a Football Friday edition of BYP with Q. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones, from our wonderful friends over at Played Again Sports. We've been talking about it. Check them out, 1450 Clements Bridge Road, Deptford, New Jersey. Black Friday week. It is beginning Saturday. 5-star members, you'll get 20% to 80%. But hey, if you go in there and you mention BYP with Q, they'll take care of you. They'll give you those sales as well. They got stuff going on up to 50%. They've got the doorbusters on Black Friday, half off. They've got the merch. They got the golf equipment. They got the clubs. They got the baseball bats, the hockey gear, the skates, everything you need. As I mentioned, Black Friday sale, Black Friday week starting tomorrow, mañana. Again, check them out online, playedagainsports.com. Put on the location, New Jersey, and they are located 1450 Clements Bridge Road, Deptford, New Jersey. Very convenient store hours as well. And again, they might vary with the holiday hours, but typically they'll open at 10 to 6, 10 to 5, 10 to 7 across the board. And that's what you want from our wonderful friends over at Played Again Sports. And with that, we welcome in the prop, who I don't know if he's licking his chops from what the hell transpired last night. I was waiting for that fake sideline report that Joe Burrow was fine, but we'll get into that. Crazy game, another week in the books as we start to look ahead. And prop, you called it last week, by the way. Big win, Dallas first half. They mauled my New York Football Giants. How are you, my friend?
Pretty good, yeah. Well, it seemed like everybody was, worried about. Well, a lot of people got backdoored on a Giants team total, which is I did not have. That's why I'm laughing. I don't mean to laugh at people, but it was a tricky one. I think this week against Washington, it's about 13 or 13 and a half, something like that. And but people ignored the first half. I thought Dallas -10 first half was a great play, and it got there. And then last night we have how many guys are going to get hurt? I mean, I was live tweeting it as I was watching it, and the league's going to have to address, not saying who's injured. It's kind of important that Burrow is injured. They deleted the picture of Burrow with the thing on his hand. He had some kind of a nerve thing, obviously, and then he throws. And obviously, he's got a hurt wrist or whatever it is. But for people that had Burrow over in yards like me,
sure. Passing yards, passing attempts.
Yeah, kind of screwed. I mean, I got lucky that I had Jamar Chase anytime touchdown, which helped. But there's people that probably really leaned into this, and they're going to have to address this in the offseason because, they can't not say who's even slightly injured. It's pretty important.
There's been, over the years, the etiquette when it comes to like dropping the IR report, right? I mean, we know it's out there, obviously, for the gambling and the betting space. But I'm wondering, the thought process. Let me put that picture out where he's got a device that looked like a cast over his thumb. And then to make matters worse, I'm covering up the crime. I'm deleting the photo when, social is a quick screenshot. Now, the NFL is going to investigate why did they not list him on the injury report. And I think it's after the fact because he posted that picture. But let's just say he doesn't get driven to the ground or someone falls on top of him and he's shaking out the wrist and he throws and then all of a sudden he's grabbing his wrist. You would assume he was already injured prior to. So again, right. That makes, think about this. If I know Burrow's injured or throwing hand wrist and that line 6 or the Ravens are given 6, maybe that line, balloons up to 9.5. I'm just using that as an example, but yeah.
If he's not going to play, obviously Burrow's the most important player on the Bengals. It's an understatement. I mean, if he's slightly injured, it definitely would have mattered for Lions, but it matters for, a lot of money is wagered in fantasy. A lot of stuff is wagered in player totals. What was it? Atlanta had the same problem with Bijan. Arthur Smith didn't disclose that I think he had the flu or whatever was wrong with him.
Yeah.
What would be the reason to not disclose it? I mean, I don't know. It's just, there's no, again, one of these things where it's no lie small enough that's too big not to matter. It matters. And obviously they're trying to hide it. So they're probably, I mean, I'd find them, but some people that are pretty upset, and it should be. There's money wager on the sleep. Goodell can't have it both ways. He can't, and that was kind of the live tweet I sent out. They can't say, we're in New Jersey. We know what New Jersey went through. They carried the water for the country. They spent $2.5 million on a discounted rate to fight the leagues. The league depositions were all like, oh, I don't know. And Goodell's deposition was, we're worried about the integrity. Now he's completely in bed, and they're not being, compliant. You have to be, the keyword is compliant. You can't be in bed with this. I actually was more rude about it. I said, he has a half a whore complex. You can't be, a half a prostitute. It's like you're either all in or you're all out. And he kind of, I
would have went with you can't be a little pregnant, but hey, you know what?
No, either one. It's just, is Goodell, does the league office know about this? Now it leads to these other things. But there's things that I shouldn't report. They know they have to report it. The Ravens have an edge. If they knew that he had a little something nerve with his wrist or whatever, you could tell by the way he threw. Now, I broke my hand when I was younger a couple times. Once, Rich, when you jam your finger in basketball, sometimes you pull it out. I remember we were doing this kind of thing. We were, I had a trainer pulling this thing, and I go to get X-ray. They're like, well, what wall did you punch? Your hands in here break easy.
Yep.
Sometimes just from something minor. You come from a boxing background. How many times did Jeff Fennick break his hands? I mean, the guy had 20 operations or something crazy. I get it. He's punching people. I remember reading one time he did it, but he punched in a heavy bag and he broke his hand. So is it one of these things? I don't know. I didn't even see the report today because now I'm afraid to look at it. I don't even know how accurate it is. Is he going to be out for the rest of the year? If he even misses 1 or 2 games, I think it spells curtains for the Bengals. They're 5-5, and I think it segues into who does that help? I think it directly helps, obviously, Buffalo. It directly helps, the teams in their conference. It helps the Browns. Even the Browns have a problem.
It gives a little life. It gives a little life. Think about it. Cleveland now, right?
Sure, it gives life to Cleveland. People, for whatever reason, think the Steelers are in the driver's seat.
Offense stinks.
I think they're terrible. I don't even think their defense is any good. I mean, they're
See the total? You see the total for that game?
Yeah, it's 32 or 33. Because Cleveland's defense is really good. Somebody mentioned it as well. How's Cleveland going to move the ball? How's Pittsburgh going to move the ball? I think Pittsburgh is more likely to get turnovers in Steeler territory than the opposite is true. I also think this helps the Chargers. People talk about the Chargers and the whole league. Everybody, I've never seen a coach more hated than Brendan Staley. I really can't.
I don't dislike him. I don't.
How do you give Belichick a pass this year, and you just leapfrog into Staley? Oh, Staley's been. Listen, you can tell how Chargers played against the Jets. I know it was Herbert's non-throwing hand, but it was bothering. You can tell it's been bothering. He missed at least 4, maybe 5 throws against KC. 2 were batted down in the red zone. I mean, the guy's 6'9" or whatever he is. He got two, and then he missed two wide open. That, oh, well, it's not his thrown in. So people are different, maybe it's bothering him a little bit, but you could tell last week it did not bother him at all. And it isn't, oh, what did he do differently? It's a little, I think sometimes it takes a little bit healthy. Hopefully that's for the Bengals. That's kind of what Burrow's thinking. I know it's different where it's a throwing hand. Maybe that can heal in a couple of weeks. But if that, in fact, what was wrong with Herbert, the Chargers are lucky it was 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I know they still have a tough schedule, but I'm segueing into a game that I'm playing.
Go ahead, fire away.
You have the 2.5 juiced. You can play the money line. I think you can even lay 3. It was even money early in the week. Chargers against Green Bay. You'll get to see if the Chargers defense is atrocious or are they just bad against teams that are good. They were really bad against KC.
Yep.
They were really bad last week. They weren't so bad on the road against the Jets. So Green Bay is a middle offensive team by whatever metric you use EPA, if you use YIP, if you use whatever you use, they're a middle of the road team. They're not atrocious offense. They're not atrocious.
Right.
I think their defense is also right around a thing. And I think the Chargers or offensive Chargers, they're clicking, even if they're not clicking like they were against the Jets. Jets was an awful game and they still won by 3 touchdowns. So now I don't want to assume anything. Let's assume that they win that game. This Bengals injury helps them as well.
Yeah. Now I want to go back real quick. You said it brings back Buffalo into the mix. Buffalo's got the Jets this weekend. Buffalo, that total is 39.5. Buffalo's, I believe that's a team that's getting ready to, you have 2 options here. You're going to implode or you're going to rally around each other and go on some type of run. I think it's the first, it's not the latter. I think this team is getting ready to implode, to be quite honest. Buffalo can put the Jets out of their misery. I know they're laying 6.5, 7, but why I wouldn't touch Buffalo going forward is, so they get rid of Dorsey, right? Because he had to be the fall guy. McDermott's on the hot seat. He's got
holy smoke. Well, I mean, listen, anybody who's played football, any level, if you know anybody at any level, there's a guy on the field, is a defensive captain, special teams who supposed to count the players. Now, how are you going to fire McDermott? Again, you're exactly right. He's on the hot seat.
You're talking about the field goal late, 12 men on the field.
Someone's got to count it. But I guess you have to fire somebody, but do you? I mean, was people clamoring for Dorsey to get fired? I mean, you can whoop on the Jets this week, and people will kind of forget, the 4 turnovers. Which, if you look at the turnover, I mean, it's guys dropping balls. Sure, Allen fumbled again, but if you look at Allen's numbers, Allen's playing much better than the team is.
Yeah, but I can also, when you go coaching, right? And it's interesting because I had James Hasty on the other day and he was talking about data-driven with coaching. Last play, second or third to last before they, when they got the pass interference call, that's a veteran quarterback chucking up. Why are you putting the safety in that position, right? I mean, all you have to do, turn around, stay off of them. Wide receiver.
Well, you know what? I thought I watched that play probably 12 times in the last couple of days because I was thinking along that same line. And you know what it was? After they got the sack, is they didn't want to give even 8 yards up.
For a long field goal.
Why not back off in case he throws a short pass? They could have changed it up a little bit and then backed up. They didn't, and then look what happens. They get a cheap field goal, and then he shanks it.
Yeah, he shanks it. He gets the reprieve by the 5, right? The second chance with the 36-yarder. Denver gets another win over the Bills by 2. So nice hit if you had Denver.
It's not good for Denver either. The Denver had the ball inside the Bills 50, 70 times?
Yeah.
That's all they got. And then Russell Wilson hysterical here to talk. Is there any doubt he's going to run for office? He's going to run for some kind of because he's the biggest BSer I've ever seen. I think we're just ready. Listen, Denver should have been up. If Denver was at any kind of
21 points,
he would have been up 3 touchdowns. It's just the fact that the Bills were even in that game was.
And we get them on prime time again, which is ludicrous.
And you knew they were going to go right down the field. Did you know they were right down the field? If I played in game result. What's the result in game right now? I said touchdown. It went from like plus 300 to like even money like really quickly, and you thought that was going to be it. Oh yeah, by the way, I think we put to bed the comeback player of the year award. Although for some reason I was listening to a couple national shows. It's like they didn't watch the game Monday. Hamlin had a tackle at 2nd and long. 2nd and 8. Hamlin gets a tackle, stops the bigger tight end.
Yeah, they meant it was a blurb. They mentioned it
for 3-4 yards.
Yeah,
and then they was it first down, and then they get the sack.
Yeah.
So it was. That's it. And then and my back-to-back is live because I said he's going to get it. And then next year, if he's in a dime package and he plays for real and he has 3-4,
he's going to get it again.
He's gonna be in the running again.
Yeah.
Because what I didn't mention last week is not only did he for some reason people are forgetting, or maybe the report's false, that he died on the field. Let's say that's hyperbole. Let's say they didn't resuscitate him, although the EMT guy says he did. They changed the entire playoff structure for this injury. Think about it. They played one less. They canceled the game because of the fact that he came out now as a tackle, and not a cheesy tackle. Buffalo wasn't up 21.
Big tackle.
That meant something. They had him man on man on somebody. Denver could have took advantage. It would have been typical Peyton. They're like, hold on, let's go right at Hamlin. Run like 4 guys. That would have been Peyton. That would have been Peyton to the T. Run a specific play to bury him. To your point, I kind of know what Buffalo was doing there, and I think that thing, just throwing up in the air, kind of, believe it or not, took them by surprise, because if they backed off and Wilson had seen it, he throws short, and now you have a makeable field goal. I know it's
no matter what,
but they were trying to make it. They went for the home run and they failed. But nothing gets the stink off of something like this and coming out and beating somebody 35-11.
Like the Jets.
And that's what's going to happen. I don't know. We've talked about it multiple times. I don't know who thinks the Jets were going to. They teased everybody with the Jets. They could make the play. You're not making the playoffs when you can't score. You got to score points. You're not scoring with Wilson. I don't like to compare. Oh, well, Wilson didn't score against the Raiders. How's he going to score? Scheduling's different. But he hasn't scored against anybody. The team has looked bad. It's too much stuff on the defense. The defense isn't a lockdown defense, like we said. And this is a perfect game for the Bills. Right. 27-9. And it's going to happen. I have him in a teaser leg. I think it's a good first half play. It was a decent number. It was a juice 4 out there, believe it or not. And now I think it's 4.5. That's what I think about that. And the Bills will be, now I know the Bills have a tough schedule.
They do.
But the look ahead line, the Eagles were only like a field goal. Now they're like 4 after that loss at home. So it's going to hover 3.5, 4, all things being equal, no injuries. That's a winnable game by the Bills. Teams +4 win. They win a lot. It's not 7. They're not 3-1 to lose. It's going to be interesting because I think they're going to steal a game or two. And you know what happens with teams that steal a game? They're not supposed to. All of a sudden, they get around together. They're 7-5. And then look out. So I'm looking to the Bills and the Chargers really like that. And you're going to get to see the Chargers play. Obviously, they still have KC at home.
Yep.
They have the Ravens at home in December. and it's not going to be a given for the Raiders. I think right now the line probably going to be Ravens going to be favored by about a field goal, maybe a little bit more. I don't think that's going to hang around, especially if they woodshed Green Bay and the defense kind of plays okay. When you don't have an unbelievable team, or you don't have a soft schedule, and you hover around this is the time that the teams separate. And I think the Jets will fall by the wayside.
100%.
And this is another thing that's not going to be popular is if you can get an in-season over/under on the Steelers. I think you sell the Steelers. I think you sell the Raiders. I think DraftKings had a 7.5. I gotta check because I don't really bet at DraftKings. But
Steelers
DraftKings
have the Browns. Browns are laying.
But I mean, they had an in-season 7.5 on the Raiders. Raiders have to win 3 more games. Raiders ain't winning 3 more games.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
And the Raiders have to win 3 more games. I think there's no way they'll win 3 more games. I think to lose, they got to go 3-4. I think they're going to go 2-5, and I think the Steelers are going to be right around 2-5. Even with a backup, I don't think they're going to win in Cincinnati. I think it's going to be a tough game, and I don't think they win this week. They won so many close, weird games. They had
the Green Bay game.
The Allen Eck ref crew screwed up. I mean, he's off by a yard. Last week, I went over and over about, he threw the ball behind the line of scrimmage. He gets a break. I don't think, narrative, it's fixed. No, I think it's equally bad. These things even out. And unfortunately for the Steelers, they're going to lose a game, a close game. It could be this week over a questionable DPI or something, and they're going to lose. And then I think that if Tomlin gets his team 8 wins, it's great because the team stinks. They've been outgained in every game, which is incredible to be 9 games. How do you get outgained 9 games? It's incredible. I don't think it's happened. I went back to like 1995. I stopped looking. I was like, I don't need to look any further. Somebody brought up a stat 1940. It's not good. It's not good. But
you like Cleveland even with a rookie quarterback?
Yes, he isn't good. The
defense will win that game.
I keep calling Watson PJ Tucker, which is kind of funny. So I keep calling. So I haven't stopped. He's PJ Tucker, which is so disrespectful. You're calling the guy the wrong name or whatever. What is his name? Is it Watson? But PJ. Since he screwed up the Seattle game for me, I don't. He's the third string guy. That's what it should be called.
So what's your tease with Buffalo?
I have multiple teams, but I had Buffalo with Jacksonville, and I also have Buffalo with the Vikings.
Good play. Jacksonville rebounding from getting whacked.
I have a few things wheeled. I have the Vikings plus 8.5. I have Jacksonville -1. I have the Bills at a good number -1. And the number on the Bears, I guess now with Fields thinking he might come back, that line opened 9.5. Some people are saying it opened at 10. I think it was 10 for a second. Now it's all the way down 7.5.
Yep.
Those numbers, the 10 was this is important to know. The 10 was not a true 10. I mean, because if everybody's on the app, if you bet, I don't know if they would take 500. Oh, yeah, but let's pretend that they did. That 10 would be gone. It would be moved to 9.5. So let's just say lines open 9.5. Now they're 7.5. Those 2 points are really dead numbers. It's a move, but it's not like the Deshaun Watson move, which is 4.5, 4 down to 1, because obviously 3 is of huge importance. So that's a true move. The Deshaun Watson. Remember, Rodgers was out beginning of the year, and the line was 9 or 10 and went to 1. And last year it happened also. It's like, oh my God, how much is he worth? 2 touchdowns or whatever. So going over 3. But the lines are now 7.5. Will you see 7 if Fields plays? Maybe. I played the Detroit in a teaser leg also. And obviously I have my Detroit stuff in. I've been saying it for a month, 3 weeks. I said it after the Baltimore game because the Baltimore game, it doesn't matter. A bunch of teams. Let's talk about Cincinnati. Cincinnati got absolutely woodshedded by Cleveland the year they went to the Super Bowl, and then look at their run after that. Last year they were 4-4, right, or however ran, and then they took off. It's the good teams, I think, will move in that direction. So the Lions, people will talk about the soft schedule, blah blah blah. Fine, the Eagles had a soft schedule last year. They win the Super Bowl, nobody cares. But the Lions are a good team. They gave a lot of yards to a really good offense, a healthy Herbert, but the Lions are good. We're going to see how good the Lions are New Year's Eve night.
With that rationale, then you're talking about the teams getting woodshed, rebounding. I mean, look, 2010-11, the Giants got waxed on Monday Night Football to Cleveland. They won 9 in a row after that.
It happens. And if you want it to if it's going to happen, we keep talking about. You want it to happen at a conference,
sure,
on the road,
right?
You get hammered. Okay,
Jacksonville, San Francisco.
It's people will look too much into it. It was a bad game. St. Fran's off the butt. Scheduling matters. It matters. I don't play into the who needs the game more kind of thing. Because if you're not good, you still lose,
right?
But you look at Detroit's at Lions numbers. They've done what they're supposed to do. Even with the Baltimore loss, they've played well. Are you going to discount that they beat Kansas City on the road? Somebody said
open up the season.
Somebody said this. I heard this from a prominent radio who's in the Hall of Fame. Said, I got to see Goff win a big game on the road before I'm in love with it. Are these people watching the NFL?
Was that Doggy?
Are they watching the NFL? I get it. They're pulling him 18 different directions.
Plus 3,800, by the way, MVP.
Who should get his show? Russo's son should get his show. They put him to Siberia up in Wisconsin, the poor guy. The guy's eating cheese. The guy's decent radio should partner up with you. He's actually paying attention to what's going on. Goff has been here. Goff won a game in New Orleans to go to the Super Bowl. I know it was that terrible DPI, but he won the game on the road. People remember the Super Bowl, but hey, Belichick eats up young guys like that. And he ate up McVay. It was McVay's offense. Goff has won on the road. Goff is good. You put a team around him, give a line, give a guy on a game, give a guy a defense. It's amazing what you can do. And I'm still live for the MVP. All this talk about Stroud, if you do projected, Stroud's stats projected for the rest of the year, he'd have about 4,900 yards. He'd still be like 9th in QBR. Goff is right now 6th in QBR, and he would be projected about 4,700 yards. I got news for you. If they get the top seed, he has 4,700 yards. He gets the 30 touchdowns, has 10 interceptions. How does he not get the MVP?
Yeah.
He needs to have, for a 42-1 shot, he needs to have basically a good second half against Dallas. So Dallas is up 21-20, it's 2 minutes, and he wins. Boom, boom, boom.
It's the last thing we remember.
It'll be the last thing we remember. Everybody else will cancel each other out because I got a feeling I said that another quarterback's going to get hurt because, I hope nobody does because it's really killed the league. The Rodgers thing hurt the league. Cousins didn't hurt the league that much, but it's bad. It's bad. It's bad for the line. It's good for the Lions, but it's bad for the juice.
Right.
Last night's terrible. It's terrible for the league. Everybody wants to see Burrow against Allen, against Mahomes. Hurts hasn't been 100%.
Right.
But these guys that run around, I think Hurts has been smart with his body, but sometimes you can't help it. So I said, who's going to get hurt? After this, is it going to be Tua? Is it going to be Lamar? Is it going to be hurt? You don't want it to be Mahomes. I didn't mention Mahomes because Mahomes, it kills the season, it kills everybody. They have the best defense not only that the Kansas City's ever had, they have, people are talking about Baltimore's defense and the zombie Pro Football Focus had it ranked the highest they've ever, but whatever. The Kansas City's defense has been great. That's all you need to know. So it would be awful if Mahomes got hurt. And you don't want Trevor Lawrence to get hurt. It's bad for the league. And
I think Goff's going to win it. And you mentioned like having that signature moment when Cam Newton won and put up those ridiculous numbers. It was a 3rd and 15 scramble against the Giants that sealed it. That solidified
and
it.
they were the 1 seed. They were the 1 seed.
Exactly.
The 1 seed matters. It's narrative. I get it. People want to talk about the sexiness of Stroud. All that Stroud stuff goes away if Kyler Murray scrambles this week and they win by 2, like they did against Atlanta. If Murray, it's a winnable game. They got the line's 5. Again, it's not 8. Arizona, it's a game they can win. And if what's his name for Cincinnati last week catches the ball in the end zone, we're not even talking about Stroud. You're saying Stroud's rookie of the year, and I'm bringing up him for MVP.
Mahomes shorter sides plus 275. Hurts is plus 300.
Yeah, Mahomes is going to be the favorite because right now they're up there. They're one of the top seeds. Lamar Jackson's going to be up there because plus people are projecting, hey, what if Baltimore runs out? They become the top seed. Obviously, 2 is in there. But they're all and Hurts is. I think they're all going to cancel each other out because I think look at the Eagles' schedule, look at the Bills' schedule, look at Kansas City. People are talking about how tough everybody else's schedule is. Kansas City's got to play Buffalo. Kansas City's got the Monday night game. They got to play at the Chargers. That's not a good. The only one that's kind of sitting on an island a little bit by themselves is Goff, who can come. And, you mentioned Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence hurt himself a little bit last week, but people forget about it if he has 4 touchdowns this week. He plays better in December, but they're not going to get the top seed. This is why an NFC top seed becomes, it's easier for things to fall into place, not only for the Lions, but also for Goff. I'll be happy just that the Lions can get a home game. For some reason, the narrative out there, they're ignoring the Lions. Look, how do you ignore the Lions? I'm in Philly country. I'm going to wear this. That's how high I've been on the Lions. I'm risking life and limb with wearing Lion stuff because also, let's face it, this is going to the Thursday night games have been terrible. The injuries have hurt the league. There's been a lot of crap games. Anybody had to watch the Colts-Patriot game? It's just like, Colts.
About a couple more weeks, Giants and Packers. And by the way, you can crush the narrative that Thursday night football always hits the under. Last night, a different animal. It
matters where the total is, doesn't it? That's kind of what I said. I said, a game line 47 is different than a game line 36. It's got to come back. It's either going to come back where it just pushes money back and forth, or it comes back in bunches. Either way, it's going to lower that number. One of them was last night. You might get a couple more. Monday, as good as the Kansas City defense is, Eagles have a good offense. We'll talk about that toward the end. But the thinking that San Fran could be the best team. They could get it, at the right time, and they still could finish second.
Right.
Because the Lions
the scheduling
could run out here. What do they have 2 losses. I thought they were going to be 13-4. They got a shot at 14-3.
I like them. I told you, they're my Super Bowl participant. I grabbed them.
And that's what I meant. That's good for the league. They've never made the Super Bowl.
Right.
Let alone won it. They're one of the original teams from the original expansion. Them and the Browns that have never made it. And, it's got to happen. Remember, it's got to happen eventually, right?
There are 2 games I'm not touching. Giants getting 9.5 against Washington. And then the Cowboys, I'm not touching that game as well. That's, I think, 10.5, 11 against Carolina. I don't like those games. I don't know if you had a thought on any of those games. I don't think Daboll's in
If you
trouble
want to, I think you can. This is going to go crazy. I think you take a look at the Giants who are already pissed. Yeah,
to cover.
Giants are terrible.
But they play Washington. They always beat Washington, it seems.
It's a conference game. Washington's no world beater. They give up chunks of yard. Now you're going to give up chunks to DeVito. I saw. You can't believe the guys I saw in the 90s that played. When the year Randall Cunningham got hurt and the Eagles had the great defense, they played fifth string guys. They were getting guys off construction sites that were drinking with Kotite on Pat Ryan, Brad Gable, Jeff Kemp's son, Jack Kemp's son, Jeff Kemp. He doesn't even deserve the first name, Kemp. These guys are, they wouldn't start an arena league, and the Eagles were trotting them out. I'm sure people could name a zillion other guys that were just, third and fourth strings that were, as bad. Peterman. I get it. The guy's bad. The Giants' defense was really bad last week.
After a couple of really good weeks.
You can't see the 24-17 here. You can't see 23-16. I could see a bunch of field goals. I could see a turnover.
Remember, too, no Young, no Sweat. So the Giants should be able to run the football a little bit. They're not going to have to throw it.
You're asking for trouble when you're going to lay more than a touchdown with teams that are not good. And I talk about this a lot. This is kind of where I've done well in a long stretch. I call it the slop. The slop of the worst team and, the fourth worst team. We think, look at the yards per play and all these metrics. We think it's work, but sometimes, there's not that much of a discrepancy. There's actually more of a discrepancy this week between Dallas and Carolina.
Right.
And that you can see it in the market.
Right.
Dallas on the road, they're laying more than 10. I think the better play is Dallas first half.
Oh, Dallas first. Which you call that?
Yeah, I got a 6 juiced. I believe it's 6.5. You kind of don't want to lay 7. Every half point is a big deal. In first half plays, you do get decent limits. If you're a smaller player, it's worth a couple hundred. It's worth 100. It's better than playing the game because, if you get a bad break and it's 7-0 and ends up being 7-3, the second half line isn't going to be atrocious. It's going to be kind of what the game. It's going to probably mirror, I guess, all things being equal, not that getting hurt.
Yeah.
There's going to be some opportunities to play it, and if you win, you wash your hands. You look at other things. Maybe you take a look at playing the Monday night game. Maybe you play. Maybe the line goes to 3. Get lucky, or maybe you play a teaser. Vikings, Eagles. I don't like the Eagles in the tease here. Believe it or not.
Do you like Kansas City outright this weekend?
I like Kansas City. I bet Kansas City. I got it 2.5. It was a little extra juiced. I think there's 2.5 minus 20. And I don't. It's not a big game because it's something that it could be definitely close. It could go either way. Every year. You can say it's about every team, but we're close to the Eagles and see the Eagles a lot. We see the Giants a lot more. We pay attention a lot more. That the Eagles tend to win a game they shouldn't win every year and lose a game they should lose. I could wholeheartedly see them losing to the Bills, losing at Seattle, and winning, this game and beating San Fran at home. I did play KC's. I think it has more to do with KC's defense. But the way, the Eagles have look, every time they're in third and short, they're gonna get a first down, probably.
Foregone
They get a
conclusion.
kicker. Sirianni's smart, a lot of stuff. So that's how I see that game. But the game that I'm playing the first, a bunch of those first halves, a few of the teasers. I like the Chargers for a decent. That's probably one of my better plays. I like Cleveland also. It's not obviously I don't love it now because my quarterback's out. And I did take Miami early in the week, so it opened 10. It was 10 for an entire day.
Yep.
I took a little bit first half Miami and a little bit -10. Now the line's all the way up 13 and a half.
Tough for the Raiders to score. Go
first half 7 Miami. I think it was a really good play first half because I do think Miami's going to come out. It's going to be first update we're going to get. It's 14-0, 21-0. It's going to be something crazy like that. If by chance, the moon, gets aligned with Saturn or something crazy, and they're only down a touchdown, they're going to get crushed late. They've been doing it with mirrors. But one of these, anybody that's still alive in Survivor, this is a very dangerous week for them. You have lots of high spreads. Washington, the Commodores look, like
the Commodores.
Yeah, thanks to.
By the way, now you're starting to see. You're starting to see the buzz now with Belichick tied to Washington.
Yeah, it'll be if he. I like Hal. I like their quarterback. So they have a good defense. What do you do with Bieniemy? Bieniemy is probably going to get a job somewhere else.
He is.
Bieniemy, they're going to give Bieniemy. I thought he was a shoo-in here. I knew that they were going to sell the team, but the offense has been good. It's been decent. Their defense stinks.
I'll give you a spot. I'll give you a spot for Bieniemy.
They will give Belichick anything he wants. They got a lot of money.
Yeah.
That Chargers narrative isn't going to happen.
No.
Because if the Chargers run into the playoffs and win a game,
they'll keep the coach.
They're keeping the coach and the GM.
And the ownership. The ownership is cheap.
And you know what, Staley? Even though he's their defensive coordinator, and he's been awful. He was a quarterback in college. People forget that. A lot of these guys change up. They're offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. The Eagles' offensive coordinator now, he used to be a defensive assistant for Vic Fangio, who's the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins.
Right.
So a lot of these guys learn a little bit there, a little bit here. Belichick will not be going to the Chargers. I think it would be Tampa. Or it would be Washington. I don't think there's that shot he would go to Vegas either. I think that's hardball waiting.
He doesn't know. I think you got to put him in.
But back to real quick about your Survivor. Yeah. I think it's really in danger. You don't want anytime you lay double digits on the road, like Dallas is laying 2 on the road, and they can't lose. But if I'm going to lose my first, I might win my first half and lose the game. I could see weird interceptions. My problem is Carolina is really poor. They can't score. They're going to get a rookie quarterback, really good defense. I don't think Vegas has any shot to win the game. And you're seeing it in the market. But Tampa, Baker Mayfield has not played bad.
He has not. He hasn't turned the ball over.
Not played bad. And I give him this. If Baker Mayfield was 3 inches taller, he would be
an all-pro.
I mean, isn't there like a leg extension surgery they do?
It's tough to recover from that, man. So you like them covering against the 49ers?
I like them to cover the game. I don't love it. I am going to play a little bit on it. But somebody's going down in this survival.
I know what you're saying.
Last year, or was it 2 years ago, you had that the Raiders, the roof fell on top of the Dallas on Thanksgiving night.
Yep.
And the Raiders were going up and down the field. And then you're thinking, oh my God, is Dallas going to cover? And then you're like, Dallas isn't even going to win this game. And so you have a bunch of weird things happen late. It usually comes from teams that can score a little bit. Tampa also can't score that much. But they do have a defense. And if San Fran plays a little bit, I can see them messing around and losing some stupid game by a field goal to, if you didn't get crushed last week with Buffalo's survivor. Right. Some people are going to point to Detroit, but I got a feeling that most people already used Detroit. They probably already used San Fran, but if I feel bad for those, I'm worried for the people that save San Fran for this.
Right.
Because it could be
the week.
It could be bad news. But one of these, maybe two, will cover. I think one of them definitely will cover. And my pick here is that Tampa will cover. And you want to talk about Dobbs? We talked about Dobbs a little bit last week. I did think I think it's definitely recency bias. But Cleveland let him go. I mean, he
was in training camp.
And then they traded him, I think, for what, a 5th round pick?
Yep, nothing. Arizona, and then Arizona ships him to Minnesota when Cousins goes down.
I mean, but this is the guy who put Jackson on the playoffs. He fumbled late. He's the same guy.
Increase.
When does he come back to earth? I mean, because he's such a good athlete.
Right.
He's taken broken play, and he's healthy. He's healthier than really all the other quarterbacks because he hasn't played. That's a narrative and a truism nobody's really bringing up. A lot of the starting quarterbacks are banged up. He's not.
Fresh
and
legs.
A lot of defensive guys this late in the season, you were to bring out the 40 or the cone drill, on some of these guys. Even Nick Bosa would have to be like this.
He's yet to turn it over with Minnesota.
He's got a bad interception coming that's going to cost them a game. It might be this week, but I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think. How does Denver lay any points? Take the Miami game out of their numbers. They're still not that good. They played better defensively last few weeks. They're not as atrocious as that 70-point game, but they're an average team.
Right.
And Minnesota's also an average team, but Minnesota's an average team that at least can score a little bit. That's why I took them in the teaser leg. I would not be surprised if Minnesota loses the game. I think the game where Minnesota is going to have a problem is when Detroit plays them. I think that's going to be like, Josh Dobbs again might be able to keep them in the game. And I think that Detroit's defense is underrated. And then, Thanksgiving, again, the scheduling, Detroit is Green Bay at home. So they're not losing that game.
No.
That game's at line.
That's your national window. Now finally make that statement. For all the years, everyone said, get Detroit off Thanksgiving on TV. Get them off TV. Now, all of a sudden, it's let me blow them out 35-6. And now everyone's in love with Detroit. Keep them on Thanksgiving Day. Wonderful tradition. It's exactly how it's going to play out.
They'll be laying a big number. It'll be at least 7.5.
I was going to say 6.5, 7.
Yeah, if Green Bay, I had Chargers over team total. I believe it was 21.5. Let's say the Chargers win, 27-17.
Right.
That'll play into a little bit more. It'll contribute to the poor numbers Green Bay already has. And if Detroit does what they're supposed to do, even if they win a close game against the Bears, even if they win 30-20 or 34-24, or something along that line. That line will be over 7. And then Dallas gets kind of a gift that night with Washington.
Yep.
I call it a gift. I'm jinxing Dallas on purpose because it won't be the Giants.
No,
it won't be the Giants line. It'll be over a touchdown. Won't be over 10. You might have somebody live. You might have a live dog with Washington, especially if they play not well against the Giants. Again, it'll reduce how they play. If the Giants hang in that game, it'll be because of their defense.
Yeah,
it'll
agreed.
be because of interceptions, it'll be because of turnovers. And I think there's a Friday. Oh yeah, the Thursday night game is actually a good game. It's San Fran's at Seattle.
Yep.
Which is not a walkover. I think San Fran will win, but it's not easy to go up there.
Right.
And just assume a win. And then you have I think this is the first time you have a Black Friday game. And then your poor Jets. Well, not your poor Jets, you're a Giants guy. But Seth Byrne is a Jets guy. poor Seth's Jets. They're going to be getting, I think there's an open line of like 8 or something. How's that going to be 8 if the Jets get hammered? It's going to be like 12 or 11 or something. And if they open that up at 8, I would advise people to
jump on
play teasers because the total's not going to be more than 44 or 45 or something. And you're going to see a lot of this. McDaniel's a smart guy. They're going to try to hit and run, I think. This is you got to try to keep everybody healthy. How do you see the Thanksgiving game? Do you think I'm not in love because when you have these wide spreads late in the season, it's so easy to just take.
Of course it is.
I remember Chip Kelly needed the playoffs and they went down it was Thanksgiving night down to Washington.
Yep. And
they were laying 10 with a good team and an offense, and they were rolling. I think they won 6 straight. I think 5 of them were with Sanchez. Vic got hurt. And they went down to Washington and lost the game. They might have been laying 7. I don't want to say 10. But I think I remember the game and just thinking, Kelly's going to get fired here, but this is on Sanchez. He missed every throw he could.
Yeah. Like watching Zach Wilson.
And then they end up having to win the game against, I think, Seattle, and the Legion of Boom came in here and gave them boom. And then they won 10 games, but the 10th game was against the Giants and they were already out. Which is complete irony because they would have been in the playoffs this year. And we would never got Peterson, and maybe we got the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. It's amazing how you can go down the 6 degrees of me eating bacon, I guess, however you want to call it, me eating BLTs or whatever, however you want to call it. But, you go down this rabbit hole and all this crap happens. That stands in my head because this kind of crap happens. When I get bored, I'll go back and look.
It's a domino effect.
You can use it. Somebody's late, but this is easy for. I think Green Bay lost the game at home with Rodgers, I think 2 years ago in December. Where remember, I think he couldn't get in. They had 1st and goal to 1, and he kept getting stopped. And it crushed everybody's survivor. They were like 9 or something home. I had to look at who they lost to. It was just, people were just, bourbon sales went up. It was just crazy. What do you think about?
I'm kind of on the same line of thinking with you. I think if the Lions are 6.5, 7, I think they wax Green Bay. Depending upon what happens with Washington against the Giants, if the kid Hal lights it up and they beat the Giants by 17, maybe that line's not as high as we suspect it to be. 49ers in Seattle, it's always a crapshoot, man. You're going in Seattle. Both teams friggin' hate each other. That is a nasty rivalry.
The Lions, they're going to be, San Fran's going to be laying 5, 6. I didn't even look at the look on, but I just know it's going to be
high, man. That's phew.
It's going to be. It might end up being 4. 6. It's not a huge.
You're starting to see Geno's kind of reverting back to Geno.
Yeah, it's. You'll see a lot about Geno. It's a game we didn't mention. I do have a couple smaller teasers. If you want to mess around, I think you wait until kickoff
against the Rams.
If the Rams are 1.5, 2 or something, I think they'll keep this game close. The total's low. I don't think they'll lose by more than a touchdown.
By the way,
you'll see a lot about Gino, and it's tough, these division games, no matter how good you are, to lay 5 or 6. If they put the San, what are they going to put San Fran at 3.5? You can't do that. Their offense is when everybody's healthy, it's formidable.
His numbers are not even where they last year 30-11, this year 11-7. He's on pace for 4,200 yards. But yeah, he's going backwards. You know, he hasn't been sacked.
What he did in the Cleveland game was insane. I mean, you can't take one sack on 4th down. He took 2, inside the 10, inside the 15, inside the 5, wherever.
Running backwards.
And I mean, just throw the ball up, try to hit a bird or something. Just throw the ball straight up in the air.
Right.
Listen, like Russell Wilson. Wilson takes a lot of heat. I give him a lot of heat. But that's a veteran play.
That's a smart play. Listen, I know I got you for another minute or so before we got to wrap it up. Anything on college hoops before I let you get out of here?
Just like because we're in this region and a lot of talk about St. John's. I did have St. John's, which I thought was a great number against Michigan. I got some weird 1.5 minus 102 or something. And
it was a white knuckler last night.
Well, they also have, I think it's Penn or Drexel's top scorer. I think it's Penn. He NIL'd his way out and went to St. John's, and he was a non-factor. The first update I got, they were down, I think, 70 or whatever it was. They might as well have been down 70. They got woodshedded. So then I turned around and played them on a money line against, I think it was North Texas, and I didn't even get a score, and they squeezed it out. I don't even know what happened. But I did mention early on about all those high spread teams, and
yep, you did.
Usually good for about 8-9 days. I didn't play any of the others. I did play one, I think, and I mean everybody hammered. I think it was Houston. Opened like 25 or 26. The game closed like 35 or something. I think I got like 28. It's just, but all the rest of them just went right in it. They were egregious. They were too high. I think you can start to look at some other, harder stuff as we get into these, not leagues, into these more Christmas tournaments. And I'm already looking at some of the conference. I do better in some of the mid-major conferences, the middle tier teams that do a couple things that I like, well, pace and whatnot. And, we'll go on that. College football, we didn't bring up the horrible thing. We really don't even have to. I don't think it kills the game. Some people think it does. I think Michigan's better. Ohio State, no matter where Harbaugh's at. Is he allowed in the stadium?
I mean, there's conflicting reports whether he's allowed in the stadium or not. But again, they were waiting for them to lose to Penn State. They're going to destroy Maryland, and then the game is against Ohio State. Whether he's on the side,
like up in the booth,
he's not. I don't think he can be down on the sidelines.
I thought that they were going to make it, really painful. I thought there was no way he was going to give up 3 games. I thought he would give up Penn State, not give up Ohio State. I guess they didn't want Ohio State, the whole state of Ohio, to go crazy. It's going to be a hard game for Ohio State to win anyway. They got, again, another tie to our area. I think he's the best player in the country. I think you can say
Marvin Harrison.
If I'm voting for the Heisman, I'm giving it to Marvin Harrison. Yeah. Remember years ago, they gave it to Woodson over Peyton Manning, who was a shoo-in. If you want to throw something out there as a shot, all the great numbers are good, but you might get a good number on Harrison, and some of these guys might surprise you, especially if Nix doesn't play well and Oregon beats Washington.
Stock goes down. Yep.
And I think the committee's praying for Washington to lose this week. and then win next week, and then they could just discount Washington and Oregon, I guess. This can become a complete hoop show if Oregon wins, beats Washington, Alabama beats Georgia.
Right.
It's going to be that we could talk about that as after Michigan plays Ohio State, and I'll let you.
All right. By the way, St. John's won by 53-52. Don't forget to give the to give the a follow on social media at Professor Shine, and of course, Football Friday edition of BYP from our wonderful friends over Played Again Sports, 1450 Clements Ridge Road, Dufferin, New Jersey. Listen, Black Friday week, it starts tomorrow, Saturday. We'll get this posted up on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to mention BYP with Q to get your discount, to get your savings. I got everything in there. Black Friday, Thanksgiving right around the corner. You got the doorbusters as well. You'll save 20%, some items 50%, some items even more than that. It's a ridiculous. You'll get good value for the buck as well. They got the throwbacks, the jerseys, the tees, the sweats, the weights, the golf clubs, equipment. They got everything you need. Go online, playedagainsports.com, put in the location, New Jersey. You can also give them a call. All the information is up online. Follow on social, and of course on their Facebook page as well. Don't let that what is that tryptophan sit too much in your stomach, right?
Right.
Maybe skew your line of thinking. It's going to be football, and it's going to be I might have to just throw in Trading Places, because for my money, it's a Christmas movie. Got to watch it on Thanksgiving. It's a classic.
Yeah, I like it. Everyone's gonna watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Well, I can live with a little John Candy and a little Steve Martin. So, all right, brother. Always appreciate you. Have a good weekend. You got it.
See you in 2 weeks.
Yes, sir. Be well.